a quick clip about something I've gone over in previous videos. I recently heard that in Chester, the student union MMA community are quite big, which is great. It's a great sport. It's one of my favourite sports, and I highly recommend you get into it. With MMA, it's the same with all different martial arts. You need to put it through the filter of a street conflict. So with MMA, if you get into a fight with someone on a one-on-one basis and they're mediocre or above at MMA, you're in for a rough night. If they don't know the setup, if they don't know the introductory dialogue, if they're not clicked on to have the situational awareness of multiple attackers, it's irrelevant. If you get someone who practices MMA and they're pretty good at it, and they are keeping you at arm's length, if they are aware of all your mates, you're in for a rough night. However, two stories came to me recently. One was a young lady who was maybe 5 foot, maybe 8 stone, and she told me, whilst I was at work, she doesn't need self-defense lessons because she does MMA. Now, the problem that I have with this is, what she has just said there is she supposes that if me and her had a one-on-one fight, she would beat me up. Now, when you take into account with martial arts, if you've got two people of equal skill, experience becomes a factor, weight becomes a factor, reach advantage becomes a factor, strength becomes a factor, intent becomes a factor. If you're training every day to do this as a sport, you're starting off with touching gloves, a show of respect, or maybe the bow. You're training it within a certain section of rules, and you're finishing up with touching gloves on the bow, and we're all friendly. Iron sharpens iron. That's great, and I highly recommend, if you've got an MMA club near you, get into it. I doubt that you'll be disappointed with it. However, for self-defense, that's not how I train. That's not how we train. When we train to dehumanize the person in front of us. This is no longer a sport. I've told everybody, when we go to the ground, we don't specifically look for submissions, but if an arm comes in front of me, grab it, lock it, break it, move on to something else. If I'm in trouble on the ground and there is a bottle close to hand, you're going to be wearing it over the back of your head because it's a fight. I have no qualms about this. If people go, oh, that's foul, that's cheating. No, it's not. It's a fight. I don't trust you that if you get a choke on me that you're going to let me go after I go to sleep. You might hold it on forever and kill me. You might hold it on because the adrenaline's going through your system. That one, you're not aware that I've gone to sleep. Two, you haven't got the mentality or the training or the psychological strength to know I'm safe to let go of this guy now. So God knows what could happen. You might kill me accidentally. It happens. So the idea that, oh, well, I train this one-on-one fight so I can defend myself. No, because if you get into a one-on-one fight with someone who's equally or better trained than you, who's bigger and stronger than you, in their realm, it's not going to work. Don't get me wrong, I've got absolutely no qualms about this. If you had even to today, right now today, if you put me in an MMA bout with a Ronda Rousey or a Gina Carano, they would absolutely brutalise me. I wouldn't stand a hope in hell. Why? Because they're professional fighters and I'm stepping into their professional fighting world. If it's a street fight, look at, I take you back to Al Green. Was it Al Green and Mike Tyson? They got into a street fight at a cafe and Mike Tyson broke his hand because you've taken two boxers and put them in a street fight situation. Now, as much as people always go, oh, Tyson was the street fighter, he was, but he was a street fighter in boxing. You're going to break your hand, you're going to make mistakes. We've seen it with BJ Penn recently. On a night out in Hawaii, gets sparked from what was essentially a very weak-looking slap. And he just, back he goes. It happens. You can't take... Again, BJ Penn, right now today, he's completely out of shape. He hasn't trained. If today I stepped on a mat with him for Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, I wouldn't stand a fucking chance. If I got into an MMA bout with him, again, I wouldn't stand a chance. But you take that guy who, if he was sober and it was an MMA bout, he probably would have destroyed every single one of those guys in under 5 minutes. Combined, all of them. But when you take that out into the real world, it's different. So that woman who, she didn't realise, I don't think people realise how offensive it is to me when people say, I train this or this, or I do MMA so I can handle it. No, because you're looking at it from a one-on-one fight perspective, which is not what self-defense is. A one-on-one fight perspective is a match fight, and that doesn't happen in the street. Now, the second story that came to me was recently in a bar in Chester. A bit of a scuffle broke out between some people, and 2 or 3 guys from the MMA club went to break it up because we do MMA, we can handle it, and the guys from the MMA club got absolutely battered. This is the news that's come to me. They got absolutely destroyed because you take a sporting aspect and you put it into a non-sporting environment. So it's kind of it's if you train paintball, if you go paintballing every week, or if you go airsofting every week, it doesn't mean that you can then sign up to go for selection test for special forces. There's a difference. I'm not putting anything down, I'm just saying that they're different environments, so you need to train differently for them. Again, I think I've used this analogy before. If I said to you, we're going to play a sport in 2 weeks, we're going to have 2 teams wearing different coloured shirts, and the goal is to get a ball from this end, up the field, up the pitch, across that line. That's the game we're playing. So you spend the next 2 weeks training football, you show up, and we're actually playing rugby. There's similarities, but it's a completely different environment because it's a completely different thing. So these MMA guys got into a bar fight situation, and they got absolutely destroyed because it was a different environment. They didn't know what they were doing. And I know I've mentioned this before, but sport training and martial art training doesn't teach you situational awareness. It doesn't teach you to be aware of the numbers game. It doesn't take into account the ground you're going to be on or the footwear you're going to have. It doesn't take into account numbers. It doesn't teach you how to deal with an adrenaline dump. Because if you swear at somebody in a sporting contest, you get disqualified. If you swear at somebody on the mat in a judo or martial arts contest, you get disqualified. Right? They're a bit easy and free with the rules if you're singing certain Girls Aloud songs under your breath to somebody in a judo contest. Happened. But if you swear at someone, you get disqualified. But that's how it is. That's how it's going to be for real in a real situation. You know, a bar fight doesn't start with 2 people bowing on and then taking a stance. A bar fight starts with, the fuck are you looking at? You know, bar fights and are a different breed. You don't get trained for introductory dialogue for a match fight situation because there's no introductory dialogue in a match fight. You've already agreed to do it. We have agreed to show up at this leisure centre on this particular Saturday afternoon and roll around within these particular rules. We have agreed to show up at this venue at the racecourse on this particular day, and we've agreed to step into a ring or a cage and fight each other under these particular rules. There's no introductory dialogue needed. So this clip's gone on a little longer than I was hoping it would, but again, I'm a big fan of MMA because it is an amalgamation, a conglomeration of everything that works. We just have to put it through a filter. The same with judo, the same with boxing, the same with the other 5 arts and styles that I've based RBUD off. Don't quit your MMA club, but do look online at legitimate self-defense people such as Lee Morrison, Jeff Thompson is always going to be the godfather, Ian Abernethy, with the work he's doing, although he does it with karate, it does translate to other arts. You know, if you're striking into striking arts in MMA, there's a guy called Icy Mike from Heart to Hurt. I'll be putting these together on another clip, but don't just think that because you do MMA, you can beat the shit out of everybody, because I've known people who do MMA for quite a while, but they wouldn't stand a chance against me because I know what I'm doing and I know how to shut down everything you're about to try. And if you get into a fight with somebody who knows what they're doing better than you do, you're stuffed. So with your MMA training, you've gone, right, let's do this. Whereas what you should have been doing is going, please, let's not do this, and running away. So I don't mean to offend anybody who does MMA. I've got mates who do MMA. My friend Rob Cunningham is actually fighting on Sunday, 29th. He's had 2 opponents drop out already. But anyway, because they're smart. Don't think that just because you do MMA that you're going to be invincible. You're not. This is your ego talking. I've already mentioned about ego in a previous clip. Any comments, questions, queries, suggestions, leave them in the box. I will link certain things in the description that I think you need to see. Until then, stay safe.